Welcome to the show which gives you crypto confidence. We want to help you navigate the sometimes confusing world of blockchain and cryptocurrencies and make smart, informed choices as a consumer. Brought to you by the marketing communications team at BlockSparks. Well, it's great to be joined today by Melissa from DOVU. And on the Crypto Confidence show, we've looked at lots of different cryptocurrencies and examples of ways you can use them and understand how they work. Today, we're going to look at more of a non-money use of blockchain and data, although there is a cryptocurrency involved and an economic component as well, for a really interesting new project, which I think is going to be of benefit to society and potentially to each of us individually. So, Melissa, please tell us more about DOVU.
Sure. Good morning, Maya. Thanks for having me on the podcast. DOVU is a crypto rewards platform for smart travel. So we're making it possible for people to earn our cryptocurrency, DOVU tokens, which is an ERC20 token, so based on the Ethereum blockchain, when they share information about how they move around and also make changes to their habits that have a positive impact on the environment and their communities.
Brilliant. That sounds great. So anybody who missed the last episode, you can go back to E is for Ethereum in the crypto dictionary section to understand exactly how the DOVU token has been built. But as I understand it, it's the data that's almost the real money in the system, and that's what people earn tokens for. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. Depending on where you are in the world today, you may or may not notice that the landscape of mobility is really shifting. The way that we get around is changing. And this has a lot to do with the fact that people are increasingly moving to cities. So we're going to have a lot more people in our cities soon. And already we sit in a lot of traffic. And also often inefficiently in our sort of individual cars with our combustion engines, creating a lot of pollution and a lot of congestion in our cities. And increasingly, technology is developing to sort of make this better. So we're getting better electric batteries, which enable things like e-bikes and e-scooters, also electric buses and cars. We're getting better sensors, which enable things like connected cars and also other connected devices, scooters, bikes, etc. So we're able to collect a lot more data about how people get around, and that data can help us a lot when it comes to optimizing traffic flows in our cities and also helping cities and other transportation providers understand where people want to move and when, so that they can create better infrastructure, add bus routes and bike routes, and generally try to adjust cities so that they serve their citizens better and that they're able to move flows of people much better, which will become a lot more important as we add more and more people to our cities.
Right.
But in this, there also, you sort of get into the question of data and how much data people are comfortable sharing. And this is where, and data will become increasingly valuable as we also move into a future where algorithms get better and self-driving cars, autonomous vehicles are increasingly present on the roads. In order to make those cars work, they need real-time rich data sets that they can feed into the AI algorithm to actually make it possible for them to drive themselves around. And so we anticipate that the data, and especially the real-time data about how people move around, will become more and more valuable. And we are wanting to create a way for people to actually realize that value. So to earn cryptocurrency tokens for sharing that data with parties that they feel comfortable sharing it with. So that could be their cities, it could be their automakers, it could be people who are willing to pay for it, again, to feed self-driving car algorithms. And today, it is definitely DOVU as a rewards partner, and then the different network of partners that we're building. So we're working with a number of automakers on sort of BMW is one of them, and we're backed by Jaguar Land Rover. And we've got some pilots going with a number of other major automakers where they're looking at compensating people for the portion of the data that a connected car generates that would be considered to be personal. Mm-hmm. So allowing people to opt into sharing that. And then we're also working with bus and train companies and looking at working with car sharing services and dockless bikes and scooter services, to also give them the opportunity to reward people for sharing more information about how they get around with them, such that we can sort of work together to optimize our cities.
Wow, it sounds really ambitious. I mean, I think we probably all know, whether we like it or not, that our smartphones are collecting data about us all the time as we move around, whatever form of transport we're on or not. But for those of us who don't have connected cars or aren't in one of the smart cities that are starting to emerge around the world, it's interesting to think about how this data is going to be used and how it's going to be valuable, and also that we, as the data subject generating that, should somehow put a value on it and get rewarded for it. I think it's quite a revolutionary concept.
Right, it is, and it's sort of, it's a question that we are exploring together with our users. I guess I'd say, because I guess it depends on the country you're in, in terms of the laws and the attitudes toward data sharing, and also it depends on the systems and the technology that we have available for helping people gain control over that data and decide how private or public they want to be with it. I recently returned from the Innovate UK Future Cities mission to China, and they are very interested in building future cities there that are smart, so that really harness data and take data out of the traditional silos that you would see it in terms of health, finance, traffic, and other information that you might have about people in a city, and putting it all together, sort of creating these big city operating systems.
Wow.
That really help them to assess the health of a city. And from a lot of standpoints, this can be quite powerful when it comes to there's a lot of efficiencies that can be gained. But on the other side, there's a lot of privacy concerns that come out of that. And I think we definitely have a different approach to when there's sensors on the streets. I mean, I would say that the Chinese government seems to be quite careful about when it considers data to be either something of an ethical concern or a security concern. The government maintains control over that. And decides they only allow certain companies that they trust or certain parties to actually work with that data. And they kind of consider themselves to be the protectors of that data. Here in the UK or the United States or Europe, we have a different approach to that, and we're trying to put different laws and protocols in place to make sure that people are anonymizing that data, or that they're not allowed to collect certain types of data. And we also want to have controls over sort of how much information the government is able to maintain over individuals as well.
Yeah, completely different cultural approach to privacy and how much we trust our governments and institutions to know about us, I guess.
Exactly. But I think we're also looking at waiting for technology to catch up. And blockchain can play a role in this, in helping us secure people's data and also encrypt it or assign some sort of cryptography to it, so that people can maybe have a unique tag to it in order to be compensated for it, but on the other hand, keep it private for themselves, so that they're not personally identifiable in this whole system. I think the coming years are a time when we really need to be exploring this and exploring, how again this data becomes quite valuable. So allowing people to be compensated for it, and at the same time maintain control and privacy over it.
I think this has been a year where there have been so many high-profile data breaches, and maybe we are finally coming around to an understanding that our data has intrinsic value to us, and we ought to start caring a little bit more about who has access to it in general, rather than giving it away for access to free apps or coffee at the supermarket or whatever.
Exactly. Exactly. So I think it's also building tools that enable people to have more control over it, because we've also seen that people, it can become a little bit too hard to sort through it all.
Yes.
And so then you just go back to a default position of giving it away.
Yeah, that's certainly true. We've got so much data being generated every day now that it's only useful, I guess, if it can be sort of smartly used and assessed and fractionalized out. I love the idea of giving people back control, though, and I think that the whole movement of cryptocurrency towards people being self-sovereign and having control of their own keys and giving that access away at will is quite a powerful one, and I can see how it's going to be very useful to policymakers, certainly. And if I were building a smart city, I can see I'd love to have this data from the start, when I'm planning and designing it. And I can see that that's what they're doing in parts of China where the population's exploding rapidly. How's it going to work when in cities with all the infrastructure already, though, like London and Bristol?
Well, this is also an interesting... It's much easier, I suppose. We saw in China these really interesting plans for sort of future city centers of gleaming skyscrapers, and where you're sort of harnessing the best of green building technology and sensors and AI algorithms and sort of transportation infrastructure to really create a place that's very livable. I mean, they were talking about having green space within 100 meters of people, public transportation within 200 meters of people, and services within 1,000 meters, like in terms of schools and these sort of things. So all very livable, all very close, with so, cities that act like sponges to collect groundwater, and that you have their own internal cooling systems and a metro on the bottom floor and parking, with smart robots to park the cars. And
I want a smart robot.
Exactly. And, parking garages that are actually underground, and, on top of there's a park and a lake. And so really beautiful ideas for how you construct a smart modern city from the ground up. And then here in Europe and a lot of the rest of the world, we have to think about how we retrofit these things. Interestingly, they talked about this, the street light being the new frontier, because if you install a smart street light, basically you can put an electric vehicle charging point on it. You can put, new LED lights that are smart. You can put cameras that sort of have edge computing in them, which look at sort of only flag, a central authority if something has gone wrong. So like a robbery, or, they can tell that there's been a traffic accident, and also environmental sensors to assess, air pollution levels and these sort of things. Wow. So just an interesting concept, not anything that I advocating for or against, but kind of an interesting concept that this, there's different ways of thinking about adding infrastructure to existing cities.
Yeah, I suppose the only street light smarts near me seem to be they always know if I'm late for a flight or a meeting, and right. The red lights conspire to try and slow down my journey. Maybe that's for environmental reasons.
Exactly.
But I can see there's lots of social benefits for being able to build this smart technology in, and it's great that users are going to somehow be compensated for that. So they're going to hand over their data. What does the user get? How does the token economy work?
Sure. Well, and part of what, so we're focused on making sure that people are compensated for their data, and also on just helping people adapt to this changing mobility environment. So we are really focused on helping people sort of, I guess, behave a bit more in an environmentally conscious way, or in a way that sort of helps everything in the city transition to a let's say transportation infrastructure that flows better. So yes, people. So you can download our wallet. The beta is actually coming out this week, and we are still issuing invitations for testers. So if anybody's interested, we can put it in the show notes. Sure. But also the website is dovu.io/beta, and essentially you download the wallet and enable it, and you'll be issued with sort of earnings challenges. So right now it's we're just testing functionality. So it'll just be looking at, how are you going to get to work or around town today, and letting us know, are you taking a bus or a car? And there'll also be sort of some daily earnings challenges, sometimes kind of fun, where you can receive tokens for responding to them.
Okay, it sounds like fun. I've signed up anyway, so I'm waiting to get my wallet invitation.
Yay! Yes, it's coming.
Excellent.
And then they'll be able to spend those on valuable mobility rewards in our marketplace.
Fantastic.
So again, initially, we're just testing kind of the different types of rewards that people are interested in receiving. And then over time that will expand. So it will be, things like, so rewards from our partners. So potentially upgrades to first class, season tickets, maybe test drives of nice cars, from automakers so maybe test drive something for a weekend, branded apparel, and then eventually also things from the networks so where we have a concentration of users, maybe the ability to purchase things from restaurants or things within your station, discounts on e-bikes, or all sorts of different things. So it will expand over time.
Fantastic. So just to be clear, I can earn these tokens for sharing data about the kind of travel that I do, but also for modifying my behavior and making it more socially or environmentally better.
Exactly. So you might receive a nudge to, hey, you're always taking the car, take the bike today, and you'll receive extra tokens.
Excellent.
Or also some of the public transportation providers we're working with are interested in sort of, you always take this route, but it's quite congested today, walk 5 minutes to the next bus stop and, we'll give you a reward. Or also, park your scooter. A lot of these e-scooters are dockless, and sometimes they end up in the wrong places or not in an ideal spot. So if you park it in a more ideal place, you'd receive a reward for that.
Okay, so it's gradually sort of nudging behavior in a socially acceptable way. I suppose there's also the effect that once you become aware of your travel and become conscious of it, you might start to do it better anyway and just think about things in a way that you haven't before.
Exactly. And over time, we can even start to sort of gamify that a bit with, leaderboards or even some augmented reality. But that will be in the future.
Fantastic.
As the platform develops. Yeah.
It sounds like it is certainly an application that has huge scope to grow and evolve in the future. Some of those uses could potentially be a bit scary if people try to modify our behavior too much, but I like the idea of the gamification, and I like the idea of the user control and the data subject access control. Where do you see DOVU going in the next few years, or even further if we dare polish the crystal ball?
So, we hope to be the token for reward for mobility, widely issued by automakers, buses, trains, everything, that you use to move around smart cities as well, with curated marketplaces for, specific rewards programs, and also a DOVU global marketplace that is large and global and full of interesting things.
Even air travel, potentially international travel?
Yes, anything transportation related.
Excellent. Oh, that's really exciting. I think maybe it'll be a way to make all of our cities or towns or immediate environments a bit smarter and a bit greener and a bit more positive and future-proof.
Exactly. That is the goal. It's the mission we're on.
Very exciting. I think it's something that I think it's particularly interesting for listeners of Crypto Confidence, because we don't talk about crowd sales and ICOs. I know you did an ICO earlier this year, but what you're offering people with the beta is a chance to download and get the wallet and actually start earning tokens without having to put money in, just putting their own mobility into the wallet and their own actions.
Exactly. And that's a great point, because we really believe in making cryptocurrency much easier and more user-friendly for people to get their hands on and use. And one of the keys to that is making it so that you don't have to go on to exchanges and figure out all sorts of different things with wallets.
Sure, which some people want to do. And I know that your token is trading on exchanges if people wanted to buy more. Because of their belief in the future of your organization, they could do. But I love the idea that people could effectively mine currency just by moving around and by their own behavior. Because I think it's all got to the point with mining now where that involves cumbersome electronics and things like that. The traditional currencies aren't easily mined, but the idea of being able to mine things just by walking instead of taking the car, that mine it with the effort of your own sweat.
Yes, exactly.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to put the link to sign up for the beta wallet into the show notes, and if that's still available to people, will you close that off once it's full? Should people get a move on if they want to take part in the beta?
Yes. So there is a chance that we will close it if we end up with an overwhelming number of users. So sooner rather than later, I'd recommend it.
Get in
but
fast, guys.
It should remain. Yeah.
That's great. And then in the new year, you're going to be launching to a more public recruitment drive to broaden the adoption.
Yes, exactly. So right now we're asking testers to really help us work out the bugs and give us their feedback on preferences. And then in the new year, we will be launching to a much bigger audience with the aim to grow.
Fantastic.
Both our partner network and our user base in the new year.
Okay, so yep, that's fair enough. You heard that, beta testers. You have to be ready to report bugs and give your feedback and help actually shape the way the app is going to work for the larger volume of users. But if we earn tokens during this testing period, we can use those in the marketplace, and they are real Dove tokens, yeah?
Yes, definitely. They're real tokens. They can be used in the marketplace. They can be saved for the future, and they can also be exported to an external wallet for
brilliant. Okay.
Other ways. Yeah,
well, that's a really exciting, positive social benefit project. I think it's a great one to be coming to the end of our first year with. Something for people to think about as they're planning their New Year's resolutions, to maybe get out and move around a bit more. I know as a home-based writer, that's something I definitely need to refocus on, as I do every new year, not to any great effect, but maybe a little bit more motivation will help me.
Yes, it's a resolution that comes coupled with cryptocurrency tokens. So,
well, just a little bit of motivation always helps, doesn't it?
Yes.
So what finer way? Okay, that's brilliant. Well, thanks so much for your help, Melissa. It's a really exciting project. I really look forward to seeing where DOVU goes in the new year once you launch publicly. And I hope you'll come back and give us an update and tell us about the data you're collecting and the uptake that you're getting.
We'd love to come back on, and thanks so much for having us. It's been a pleasure.
F is for fork. A few weeks ago, we looked at consensus and the way that the distributed nature of consensus mechanisms enables the networks they serve to grow and propagate in accord in a fault-tolerant way, taking all outliers to a decision forward in their wake. This could leave you with a not completely realistic picture of a world in which all users of a particular cryptocurrency harmoniously agree with each other at all times over their unique shared vision for a financially liberated future. However, due to the human beings involved as well as the code, it's really all a lot messier than that, as you may imagine. People do disagree and have strong feelings about what this new world should look like, and which protocol changes will move us in the right direction. And there's no hierarchy of ownership, no board of directors to take a casting vote. Of course, there are forums of intense debate online, often very publicly, but in the end, the decisions are made by trial and error of the consensus about any changes to the underlying protocol. These changes are called forks, because if you think of the blockchain as a line, this action divides the line into two pathways, one with the change applied and one continuing on unchanged. This might be a hard fork, where the change is not backwards compatible, or a soft fork, which is more like an optional software upgrade. They happen because some contingent of users believes that some element of the code should be fundamentally modified, or because of something catastrophic like a hack. Hard forks are the ones which effectively get judged and decided upon by consensus, because it's up to the miners to decide which version of the software they're going to continue to run, which one will continue to have value. It might be that both continue in some form long term, which is interesting because what the fork effectively creates is double the number of coins in existence and being held. Yes, you get free coins, so long as you actually hold your own private keys to the coins, they're not on an exchange. Whilst there's a good chance that one party will win and the other coin will wither away and go to zero, be worth nothing, there's also the possibility of parallel and self-sufficient currencies being created in this way. In the summer of 2017, Bitcoin memorably forked to create Bitcoin Cash, which had many high-profile supporters who believed it better represented the original vision of the mysterious Satoshi Nakamoto with a larger block size and faster transactions. This group also owned the .com domain. It created a sustainable new coin in its own right, though did little to heal the divisions in the community, with original Bitcoin proponents still referring disparagingly to their rivals as Bcash, whilst in turn having their own chain called Bitcoin Core. Then again, the Bitcoin Cash community clearly remains divided as well, as another fork occurred in November 2018, just a few weeks ago, each side claiming to be the one true path as ever. This caused major disruption and had a negative effect on prices in the market, according to many analysts. But forks happen all the time, and if you wondered why there were so many different coins called Bitcoin something, now you have your answer. Bitcoin Private, Bitcoin XT, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Classic, Bitcoin Unlimited. Few of them have much impact on the market or the community long term. And indeed, forks technically happen all the time. Whenever two miners process a block at roughly the same instant, one gets forked off the network and abandoned while the winner goes forward. It's also important to note that some forks are very uncontentious and easy. Everyone just goes on with the new chain to support a software change, which is broadly accepted as being a good thing. And other times, major forks can occur for reasons which divide a community, but thereafter coexist pretty harmoniously, such as a fork in the Ethereum chain in 2016 following a major theft. The fork essentially undid the theft, rolling back the blockchain to the moment before it happened, but plenty of people disagreed with this in principle and kept mining and using the old chain, which trades to this day as Ethereum Classic. In the short term, prices can go up just before a major planned fork if traders anticipate the creation of a successful new currency. But do note that many exchanges freeze trading on the originating coin and the resulting fork for several days, and it might take a little while for the true winner or winners to emerge anyway. So there's a bit about forks for your crypto alphabet. Nothing to do with cutlery, although if you believe everything you read on Twitter, it is all about people jabbing each other with pointy things. You just listened to a brand new episode of the Crypto Confidence Podcast. Thank you so much for your time and attention. If you enjoy what you're hearing, please do take the time to like, subscribe and review us wherever you go to get your podcasts. And you can connect with us at CryptoConfPod on Twitter and in many other ways. Do check out the show notes for full details about how to get in touch. Meanwhile, please remember that nothing in this podcast or our related social media, nor indeed anything else published by Blocksparks OU at any location, is intended as financial, investment or trading advice. Everything we share represents our personal opinions for your information, education and entertainment only. You should not make any decisions based on anything we share with you, not without undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with appropriate professional advisors. Crypto Confidence is all about being smart and informed and making the right choices for you. See you in 2 weeks.